And we are live here on Plus One EXP's Roll for Content channel. My name is Tony Vicinda. I'm Chief Alchemist here at Plus One EXP, which is a weird little brand that like used to do a lot of things, but like it's been a really rough year so far. But we still do a lot of things, and our hope and desire here at Plus One EXP is to help amazing designers find great players who love their games, and amazing players find great designers whose games they can love. We do that in a lot of different ways, but one of my favorite ways is sitting down with those designers to talk about those games. And today we're doing that in a way we've never done it before with our new series called Now You've Seen It, title created by cult leader Sarah Frank.
Good.
And I'm super excited to bring this format in, because if people know or don't know, we've invested pretty heavily in creating a new concept on the Plus One site called Zine Club, which is a way that we can invest really intentionally in a creator or a creative team and help bring a small zine-length project to life. So something that's between, on average, 24 and 52-ish pages long. They could be complete games. They could be just a really cool adventure. It could be a experimental concept, all kinds of things. But since then, we've wanted to create a space to sit down with those creators and interview them. And I was like, we could do 2 interviews every month, but what if instead we did 1 interview with both of them, where we host it and kind of do some intro pieces, and then we let them talk to each other about the creative process and kind of interview each other. What a way to outsource work to other people. Let's meet those amazing people we're outsourcing that work to. Let's start with the Glass Cutter crew right here in Philadelphia. Glass Cutter crew, you want to tell folks, or maybe I just doxed you, who knows?
Yeah.
Do you want to tell people a little about who y'all are, what y'all do, and let's just start there. We'll talk about the projects in a second.
Cool. I'm Robbie. I do illustration for Candleberry Jam. I did the layout for that too. That's kind of my first foray into layout, but mainly big illustration person is like my primary thing.
Awesome. Cool.
Okay. Hi, my name is Kelsey. My pronouns are she, her. By day, I do nonprofit political things. By night, I apparently still do nonprofit political things, but in the form of a zine. The first zine that I've ever written. And yeah, we did Candleberry Jam. Did we say that? I don't know. Probably.
I'm Tyler. I am the generally writing person for Glass Cutter for Candleberry Jam. I did additional writing and editing for Kelsey's work. But yeah.
Awesome. And tell us a little bit about Glass Cutter, like as a group. Like, what are y'all all about? I know that, like, I got to see y'all's project board the other day, but it's not just RPGs. There's a whole lot of things that are happening. Tell us a little bit about who y'all are.
We started doing Glass Cutter has been like a thing that started out with me and this guy probably around 10 years
More
ago?
than 10 years ago,
Okay.
actually. We're
A
all
very
really
long
sad.
time. Yeah.
We made comics
yeah.
in college, and that is where Glass Cutter came from. We shifted to RPGs during the pandemic, and we have a bunch of things in the pipe. We've got a bunch of different games working on like a Down We Go hack. We are working on a dark fantasy lasers and feelings thing. We have a bunch of stuff in the pipes.
Like 10 things.
Like 10 to 15.
Yeah.
I don't know what that's like at all.
It's
Yeah.
totally,
Yeah.
It's a totally normal thing.
It's not familiar to me.
And a couple years ago, Kelsey joined on, and she has been
A blessing.
very blessing to say the least. Good cat herder among a lot of things.
Well, like I used to be a Girl Scout, and I was like, I can just go sell things, and they're not cookies this time, but like they're close enough.
There we go.
Yeah, we've been doing like a lot of tabling and stuff like that, and our sales rose dramatically whenever Kelsey was like, hey, you guys should like talk to people whenever you're trying to
What?
That seems fake. That doesn't make any sense.
What if I just sit behind the table on my cell phone the whole time? Surely that's enough.
That's what I
We'll
would
draw them in with the mystery.
Yeah.
These aren't for you. So awesome. Love it. Super excited to have y'all on. Super excited that I get to hang out with y'all in real life and on stream sometimes. Speaking of people who live in a city that I have lived in at some point in time, let's talk about the Dinoberry Press crew. From I won't tell people where y'all are from. We'll let the mystery live. And so
the mystery is unfortunately revealed in our standard intro.
There we go.
So
Well, go
it's not going to be long lived.
I'll let
I'm
you
vamping
dox
to
yourself.
really build up the tension. Yeah. Hey, hi. We're Dinoberry Press. I'm Nevin. My friends call me Nova. I use any pronouns.
I'm Jam, she, they.
And we are, yes, Dinoberry Press. We are a queer TTRPG and publishing and other stuff company based out of Central Texas. We made Butt&Head. Jam's the lead on Butt&Head. I did editing and kind of project management. We do a lot of other stuff. Right now, we're crowdfunding Little Wolves, which is another project that Jam is the lead on. What are you doing on Little Wolves?
All the things. We both wear very many hats.
We do. We both wear most of the hats. She's on like world design and stuff like that. I'm doing kind of on the mechanics and project management side of things. How blatant can I get with my plugs?
Very heavy. Go ahead and give him that
Cool.
Open
Open up another tab in your web browser right now and go to bytes.rip/little wolves, bytes.rip/little wolves. We're crowdfunding now. We have 6 days left to hit our major stretch goal to have an expansion plan for the project. It'd be super cool if we hit it, like extremely cool, because I want to make more of this stuff. But just go do that. Go do that. It's super cool.
It's
I'm
also
happy it funded. I'm thrilled it funded.
It did fund. We did fund,
Thank you, everyone.
which is good.
It's also really cool because you get to make and wear masks. If you want to see what the game is like to play, you can go to our YouTube channel, or if you're watching it right now, open a third tab. And
You can actually. There's a link. There are
I think
two.
you can just go down.
Yeah, just scroll down on the Little Wolves
There we
page and
go.
you'll find a link to the. Just go to our crowdfunding page.
and so,
Yeah, we make a lot of stuff. We've been doing games for this is year 4. Started with Gun and Slinger, officially formed after that, and we kind of just have been making weird shit since then. Before both of these, we did You're in Space and Everything's Fucked, which was my like sci-fi horror project. And we have a whole lot of other stuff in the pipeline too. Not all of it games. Cool stuff coming up. Watch this space because I'm sure we'll be here to yell about it.
I love it. Also, a lot of great Death in Space content over on the channel also too, and some other curse streams. This stream for everybody else
Yes.
launched pretty fine. Some people are aware, like, oh, they pushed back a few days. That was not the first time we pushed back. It wasn't the last time we pushed back either, too. But I'm glad all the beautiful people are here and that we're talking about great things. But let's talk a little bit more about the project specifically. And let's kind of go in the reverse order that we just did. So we're going to start with the Dinoberry crew. Tell us a little bit about Butt&Head, and specifically its lineage also too, because it's grown out of some things. But you can give us the elevator pitch for it first.
Yeah, what's the deal with this?
So in Butt&Head, 2 players play as one half of a centaur. So someone pilots the top human half, and then someone else drives the horse part.
The butt.
And this idea was a joke on Gun and Slinger, which was pretty much
Gun and Slinger was My first project.
Yes.
It also 2 players playing kind of halves of a duo, but like more serious than Butt&Head. I think it's easy to say that. I think that's accurate without throwing shade. In Gunslinger, you use like a deck of playing cards, and one person's a wandering gunslinger, the other is their sentient magical gun, and you are playing like Go Fish and Blackjack with yourselves and the GM. And then Jam made Butt&Head, which I learned recently is making fun of Gunslinger. I didn't know that. I thought it was just inspired by, but she's making fun of it.
Oh, little comedy.
I think you can be inspired by things you make fun of. I do it all the time. It rules. Butt&Head is incredible. It's one of my favorite things that we have made. It's like very whimsical and charming on the surface, but like a lot of the stuff that we make, you can also play it very seriously. Some of the adventures included in here are like, there's literally a war story adventure in here written by Kevin Wynn, and it rules. It's incredible.
Yeah, there's a really great creative team that kind of came up around the whole thing. It also, I think we talked about this in our like little blurb around some of the stuff that we put out, but like it was the first. It was you, me, and Viditya, Nova, Viditya, and I got to play on stream. And it was the first time I think I'd ever played a 3-player format for a game, and I really loved it. It also was like you and Vid came in with a really great relationship already established. It created a lot of comfort on the stream, and it was a 2-part stream. Like we did part of it, like took an hour break, and then did the rest of it because we did kind of the world setup and building, and it was super enjoyable. Really easy to get into, and created a really great play space with some really clearly defined roles that. Even though it's a very, I wouldn't say traditional adventure, it's very adventure driven. Like you still get these really great world building moments. There's a lot of good intimacy that it builds and other pieces like that. And we weren't even 2 parts of the same centaur in that game. So imagine where you could go. We also, before we switch over to the Glasscutter crew, could you go ahead and say the official rules as written names of each of the three roles in the game, because it's very important that everybody hear them out loud.
Yeah, I'm just pulling up the page because I don't have it memorized. It is, you should have it memorized. Oh, look, I found them. We have the Clip Clops, aka the butt, the Chatterbox, aka the head, and the Maestro, aka the benevolent game master.
Awesome, love it. Alexander has dropped a great question in chat. We're gonna come back to questions in just 1 second after we meet our other crew. But if you have questions, go ahead and drop them in. We will bring those forward. And so I just want to get both of the folks to be able to talk about their projects, hear all the questions, and then we can kind of dive in. So for the Glasscutter team, specifically Kelsey, I think probably for this one, can you tell us a little bit about Candleberry Jam, kind of the elevator pitch for it, but also tell us specifically about the community that kind of inspired you and is kind of connected to some of this.
For sure. So Candleberry Jam is a system-neutral mystery about an island refuge and those who protect it. I wanted it to be an environment that's, warm and cozy with people who are interesting, and I really like stories that have a lot of tragic components, so I incorporated a lot of that because I think it's a little bit cooler when like there's not clear, good and bad. The inspiration for it was like in my day job, I worked for an Asian Pacific Islander nonprofit called the Asian Pacific Islander Political Alliance, APIPA. And one of the campaigns that we are incredibly involved in, kind of leading, is the Save Chinatown campaign, because Philadelphia's Chinatown is under attack, risk of predatory development by the billionaire owners of the 76ers. The owners are like, what if we tear down a relatively new mall and build a huge arena 1 block away from Chinatown? And as a side note, build no new parking for it.
If you go to PAX Unplugged, you immediately have an investment. Like, I mean, you should care about this either way, but like if you go to PAX Unplugged, this will wreck downtown Philly's parking situation.
And so I wanted to incorporate a lot of those elements of like community and self-determination. And I wanted to be really intentional about not doing the whole white savior thing that I think a lot of RPGs can fall into. And then a little bit of extra juice for it was the owners of the 76ers are like using their identity as Jewish people to be like, oh, well, like you can't call us X, Y, and Z because we're Jewish and that's anti-Semitic. And I was like, bitch, I'm Jewish too. Like, let's go.
Get 'em.
I wanted to use a lot of Jewish folklore to tell this story about how, like, you know, resistance and self-determination is just such, you know, an inherently Jewish theme. And yeah, tie a lot of those ideas.
Love it. Tyler, Robbie, anything y'all want to add to that?
I think she nailed it. I don't know. Yeah,
That's great. No, I love that. So, like I said, one of the things we really want to do is be able to talk a little bit more about, or let y'all ask each other questions about things. And I do think I just want to kick it off with one to kind of maybe wet the whistle. The Jam, y'all did an initial version of Butt&Head. We kind of did a new representation in this, renewed the layout. Made it was already great looking, made it even more gorgeous. And then Robbie, this was your first time taking a stab at layout. I think those are two really interesting places to start. You know, we have one team that I think Dinoberry Press is very well known for, like the way that y'all do layout. Jam, your design eyes specifically. No, and that's what
Thank you.
A lot of people regularly comment, and that runs the route from things that are very straight, like seem to be very straightforward, but have a lot of very small flourishes, which I think Butt&Head falls in that category, to like Year in Space and Everything is Flux, which is this wild mix of very different types of layout and art, along with menus from the menus from, and I can't think of the name all of a sudden. Is it Night Diner? I can't remember what it is. The
Kitchen Nightmares.
Kitchen Nightmares. Thank you.
Right?
Yeah.
It's there.
There you go.
Somewhere. It's on the shelf.
From the moment I discovered y'all, like there were these really beautiful moments of layout coming. And Robbie, like I've commented specifically, like the information design that you do specifically on the maps and some of the other pieces in this are some of the best I've ever seen in adventure. And you do it twice, once for 80 years ago, and then like once for like,
So
hey,
good.
what's happening right now? Like I think I've already told you this, but like I think Michael Trilemma's like one page like dungeon stuff is very peak information design, and I think you've made that have a very organic flow into the game, but reached a very similar level. So I'd love to hear you know, first from maybe Robbie and then from Jam, like what were some of your approaches to layout? What were some of the challenges or things you were thinking? And then after that, I'm going to stop talking and let y'all kick it to each other. But I want to get Lisa first. Ask my question, then everybody else can get in however they want to. Oh, Keegan has joined the chat. That was a great show, everybody. No.
See, I gotta head out.
So, but let's start. Robbie, why don't you start? Tell us a little bit about some of kind of what influenced the layout for you, or what some of the challenges were.
So you mentioned Trilemma. I hadn't really thought about Trilemma until you mentioned it the other day. Tyler showed me Trilemma like quite a while, maybe like a year plus back, and I think it did kind of sink into my subconscious a little bit. So I think that might have like bled through a little bit, but I think for we have a lot of zines here, and I have not been in the TTRPG world for nearly as long as Tyler has, like at all. I've only really been in that zone for the past like couple of years, and going through a lot of the zines and stuff. A lot of them are full of really, really cool ideas, but I find it hard to. I find myself rereading things a lot. And everything is it's very common for things to be like very dense and packed and stuff. And I'm just like, how can I want to be able to design something that feels as much as like an infographic as I can. And honestly, like kind of the impetus for the layout is me wanting to read something is like what I would want to read. I have ADHD. I know that's fairly common for a lot of folks in the field. A lot of people do, and a lot of people have like accessibility issues anyway. And I just wanted to maximize accessibility, and I really wanted a situation where people did not have to like reread information a bunch of times, have to like flip back and forth. If there's like some piece of jargon said or some name of a thing, I want it to be like on the spread. Like I want them to be able to see what that is like immediately. And I guess I laid it out in mind for forgetful people, kind of, to a degree. And the other part of it too is I wanted it to also feel like a thing that you could just read through, like as if you were just reading a story. Like if you got this book and you never played it, like you would still get something out of it, just like reading it through. So anytime I got any piece of information, like you mentioned the maps, like I'm just reading about all these places and I'm like, oh, okay, well, I don't have no idea where they are or what they look like. So the only way to do that is to make it and then just point descriptions. And yeah, I don't know. It felt pretty natural. But yeah, it was fun. And I want to do more stuff like this. The process for it was very much with illustration work. I always start with thumbnails, and so the process was very much just starting with like a letter size sheet of paper, like folded into quarters, and just like writing on each page like what goes where, kind of, and just building it up from there, and like iterating and iterating.
And iterating and iterating and iterating.
Yeah. And
a little more for fun.
It was fun. It was rad. I like doing it. But yeah, thank you for the kind words.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Jam, like I said, you again, somebody who's design and layout stuff that I think a lot of people out there are really inspired by and really kind of hold in high esteem. And this, you laid out, Butt&Head in an original version, and then redid it for the physical release. Tell us a little bit about kind of what some of the approach you had was, some of the things you were looking at for this, and maybe some of the challenges you faced.
I was very early doing layout work when I first did Butt&Head. And when I came back to it, I just didn't like it. So I changed some things around, honestly. But I know I really wanted to be silly. I just really wanted to be a little silly. And that's why you'll see some of those text boxes where, there's text inside of a horse half, or there's a text box with a man coming out of it, just in the silhouette. But I also wanted it to be like very easy to read, have everything you need to play the game. And a little bit Western inspired, a little bit Westerny, just because horses.
It's a good fit.
Yeah, but kind of with every project I approach for layout, I really love to experiment with different genres and like feelings. I'm probably never going to grow out of this experimentation phase. So all of my projects look really different.
No, like I said, I love it. I also think the Western theme, because of Gun and Slinger, the homage or the
yes,
the
homage,
homage. Just a touch, just a sprinkle of that.
But also, I think Gun and Slinger does it also too. But I feel like Butt&Head, the Western piece is really the horse vibes and the card deck vibe both lean really well into that moment of play at the table on the whole theme. And I think it's really good. It's super clean. Like I said, always love seeing what choices you make in layout, even as somebody who's like, hey, I'm only good at telling people what I don't like and asking them to do it differently. As a publisher, I spend a lot of time looking at layout, looking at information design, and like I said, I think for both of these games, like the accessibility of information was super high, and like people are always like, "Is there a theme every month for Zine Club?" And I was like, "No," but then it's really fun after the fact to be like, yeah, but it's cool to see where things overlap and where they change. So it's one of the reasons I wanted to kind of lead off with that question, since that's what this format opens us up to. But I think we're just going to kick it out to y'all now, and hopefully that's enough vamping to also give everybody time to think of questions if they didn't write down the exhaustive list in the front. Actually, here we'll do this before we kick it to y'all. Let's talk a little bit about the narrative format for each of these. So Alexander wants to know, for Butt&Head, and I think we'll talk a little bit about Candleberry Jam also too. What format does the story take? Like, does it feel kind of more like short fiction? Is it designed to be kind of a long overarching narrative? For Butt&Head, what does that look like?
I think I can take this one.
Go for it.
It can kind of be played one of two ways, really. The way that I personally like to run Butt&Head and kind of most of the stuff is kind of an episodic leaning. Like, you've got the same characters and you can have a bit of an overarching plot or something like that. But really it's made to kind of pick up, tell a fun story, put it down, and then come back to it later, either session 2 or however long, pick up those same characters in the same world and tell another story with them. I think Butt&Head and Gun and Slinger are both kind of designed at their core to be used like that. But Jam has taken Butt&Head a little bit further and really has some stuff in here to encourage a longer form campaign. The adventures that come included can play really well together. They can lead into each other for the most part. We do have the war story one, which is kind of its own thing. But you can very easily hop from the Four Horsemen or the Lone Horseman to the Apprentice, using the same characters at like different points in their lives, or even just one after the other. Both of those ways work really, really well for it.
Cool. Love it. Awesome. And that's the Candleberry Jam has a really great structure to it, and like it's really interesting. Like we had an RPG adventure in the story one, and then we had what a lot of people would define as a story game in the adventure one, because sometimes RPG stuff is just vibes. I don't know if you all know that, but each one fit really, really well into both categories. But tell us a little bit about like the narrative structure for Candleberry Jam, because there's a lot of history and lore in a very small package. You can know it, you can not know it. Your characters can uncover a lot of different things. There's also a pretty refined like timetable of what's happening as things progress also too. So Kelsey, you want to dive into that?
Sure. I was kind of doing it a bit towards like a first-time GM. This idea of like, okay, so like the characters get to town, and like then what? Because like we've done playtesting for some different things where like you lay out the setting, and then everyone just kind of like twiddles their thumbs, and they're like, I don't know where to go. So trying to like build more supports both for players and for game masters about like what is there to explore, which is why like I gave a pretty scaffolded, like on the first night you can go 2 places here or 1 place here, and then like wherever you go, someone's gonna kind of like maybe ask you to do something or lead you to a new part of town. You're gonna like have a pretty there's like just a foundation of like what is going to happen in that, well, what can happen in that interaction and what it might lead you to, because I think like drawing those connections, especially at the beginning, is really, really hard. And then the history, I don't know if most people would get into it or not. Like when we play tested it, they were like, we want to go to the library. We want to read everything. I was like, yeah, let's go.
I love it. I love like it just sets the stage, right? And then you get all of like the little details with the characters, and I love the history. I love the map and like the information right there. I love it.
We're kind of in
it's so juicy. It's so juicy what y'all have made here, and it's so good. Look, a dream would be to play a centaur character.
I was just
in
Yeah.
Yes.
We've talked about this a few times, and I think I'm gonna have to find.
I need a centaur to arrive on that boat and like save Candleberry.
Yeah, what was that? What's the capitalist's name? 'Cause he could just get kicked by a horse. Day one, solve the problems. Day one, I see that man. He's gone.
He's kicked. Consider him kicked.
Consider him kicked.
Yeah.
There's
a lot of
it's
fun.
so
in that.
good.
The centaur character having to climb the rope ladder to get to the
Oh my god, yes.
Arm day.
Arm day, yeah, just really pull yourself up.
Oh yeah.
There's a lot in Candleberry Jam that I really, really love. You were kind of talking about like the history, and you're not sure how much people are like going to get into it, but that was like one of my favorite parts of reading this. Reading how the town used to be and then how it is like now. All of that kind of just makes the tragedy hit harder. And I'm a freak for tragedy. I love to feel bad in a fun way.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what this is. Reading all of that and like getting to know these characters through the fantastic writing that y'all have done is a treat. And like I can kind of imagine how interactions would go with them. And then to read what happens if the players don't do anything, like if the players were to never show up, I was upset. It was so good.
It's kind of my favorite section because you get to that part and it's like, wait, but I can stop this.
Yeah.
But I can stop this. But I can stop this.
And there's so much going on that you cannot stop everything. Something bad is always going to happen.
But,
and I would love to be the GM running that and just be like, yeah, sure, go there. It'll be fun. Yeah. I've got toys over here to mess with. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about what I'm doing over here.
That was Kelsey wanted to do tragedy. She did a lot of that. And then Tyler took the tragedy knob and was like
I actually think of like Glass Cutter House Style for Adventures as being a wind up box that will shake itself apart if you don't stop it.
And that's a fantastic way to put this. Yeah.
When I read the stuff that Kelsey wrote for like the future section of her timeline, I was like, I can make this so much freaking worse.
Yeah, there was an edition where I was like, Tyler, this is too sad.
There was too.
That's saying something because this is really sad.
It was intense. Yeah. It was totally too much. My first draft suggestion, but I feel like we got there.
I actually have a couple of questions specifically about like this page, the notable faces, all of the like mostly wonderful characters who are here. These incredible characters and how they are all connected and how you have put them together. I'm really curious to know how y'all went about building this cast. Everybody has some connection to everybody else aside from the fact that they're just in the same town. How did y'all kind of go about building these characters and the web? And spinning off of that, how did y'all approach the timeline for the future, for things that happen if the players don't interact? Because everything in there has something to do with at least one of these characters. You are making sure every NPC gets spotlight in a really interesting way. And I want to shake the music box even harder because of it. So like, what was it like putting all of this stuff together? How did you go about it?
Oh boy.
It was a lot of bouncing back and forth. There were a lot of conversations, a lot of drafts, a lot of iterations. There were probably like between you guys like how many drafts? Like 8 drafts of this.
God.
Probably more. Like it started
Probably.
off as like kind of a haunted house adventure.
Yeah.
Like the answer
Yeah.
is, I think that we just like kept coming up with slightly different versions of this thing and bringing the characters along that felt good to bring along, and like burning the ones that felt extraneous. And so we had quite a nice little web of folks.
There were like
Yeah.
characters that were combined, and then other
Yeah.
characters that were like split into
basically.
2 different
Yeah.
characters, like that kind of
How-
I
thing.
love character development.
How big was the cast before you got it to this size? Because this is pretty sizable.
So it got big and then small and then big again.
Yeah.
What was its biggest?
More than this, I think.
Oh
Was it?
gosh. I don't think so. It was originally like originally it was like a haunted house.
I
it
do
was
want to write a haunted house adventure like this, by the way.
Yeah.
I
It's
did
so
too.
good.
It was like a haunted house murder mystery.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
And I was just
Not
like,
that.
I read Snail Fancy, and I was like so inspired by Hero Indie, and I was just like, it can just be one like really interesting building where like a lot of things happen, and that was the first iteration. And at that time, I think the cast was like around 8 people, and Tyler was like, it's too big.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Y'all got like 15 people here?
Yeah.
But now we have a whole island.
It's a big island.
It's a big island.
That's less of a one shot and more of a like few shot.
Yeah,
This could easily be like 3 or 4 sessions.
Yeah, Kara was always there. Isha was always there. It took me forever to find names for all these people, and I changed the names a lot. And so, like, that made it harder in the iterations. Is like we would be talking about people. I'm like, no, that's not their name anymore.
Any favorite names that didn't make the cut?
Ooh.
Oh,
I love names. I made a Twitter bot to create names for Gun and Slinger. So like I'm it doesn't exist anymore, but I still have the spreadsheet.
I love that.
trying to think. I think like Kara was originally Claudia.
Claudia's a good name.
Thank you. I was going for a little bit more like Hebrew inspired for a lot of these. So a lot of these have meanings that are like I think Yeshua is something along the lines of like protector, and I forgot all the other ones, but they were so intentional. Yeah, originally Kara was like a father-daughter duo, and they got married. Yeah. And then
I can see that with like how Kara's written and the history of like the workshop and all that stuff. That makes a lot of sense.
Well, Ollie and Livia used to be one child named Olive.
Oh, that's a good name split. That's really good.
Yeah. And then I really wanted a library, and I really wanted like a weaver. Yosef was a really late addition, and then one thing we went back and forth on a lot was how old Luca should be, like whether he should be like another adult character or not as much an adult character.
It's excellent. This is all excellent.
I gotta know from a character change standpoint, was the golem always were they something else in the other like the haunted house iterations? Is that something that came later? Always.
Oh, that's so good!
That's
Are you
great.
kidding me? That's incredible. Haunted house
They
with
were
a golem in it? Yes.
characters, right?
They were-
Originally
They were less of a character, and it was more
a spooky monster.
more spooky.
Scooby-Doo.
Yeah.
I love it.
I mean, they are kind of both in this.
So when I was over at Glasscutter HQ the other day, and was
Humble
talking,
brag, humble
was
brag.
talking to some of the playtesters. This all sounds very official. I was at a party at their house the other day, and they were like, "Yeah, the monster," and I was like, literally in my mind, I was like, "What monster?"
What
like,
monster?
like
Yeah,
Wow.
it's yeah.
it totally spans that line between. That depends on how you play it, how characters choose to engage with it. But also,
I mean,
look at
that also comes down to like the lore and the rumors of the townsfolk themselves. Like to them, this is a monster, a good one, a fun one, nice and happy protector monster.
I love them. Protect them.
One of the things
Yeah,
that
they're
came out of that playtest was needing to flesh out the forest more, because it was something that they were like kind of interested in. I didn't have anything written for, and they put something on there, and I was like, "This is great," but also a candle going off in my head, a light bulb. That's what it's called.
That makes me brings me to a question about Butt and Head. Is we had a lot of fun whenever we were making our little adventure. We did not dig like super far into it, but we did do we set the stage, and it was a blast setting the stage. And I was like, this is very fun. And so I'm very curious about what y'all's playtest looked like for that, or like what are some of the cool adventures that have come out, or any lessons learned from y'all's playtest?
Oh man, it's been a while since we playtested Butt&Head specifically, but we did do a couple sessions of it back when you were first working on it.
You did more of the playtesting though.
I did. I ran the sessions that we did. I think one of the playtesters is in the chat right now. I think John is in there.
John Tacos, Butt&Head.
John Tacos. Yeah, we went over to our friend's place with like a non-laid out version of the game. And we ran it, and I think they ended up like fighting some gnomes or something. I don't super remember. It was like 2 years ago or something like that.
Did you have an adventure prepared, or was it all like we're all gonna
off the cuff? I said earlier I'm a freak. It's in a lot of ways. I love to play test improv. One of my favorite ways to run games is no prep. And we kind of design a lot of our games around the idea that you can just pick up the book and go. You don't need to prep much. And Butt&Head definitely continues that tradition. It's really easy to just pick something up and say like, all right, so we've built the world, we've built our characters, let's go. I feel like there was an abandoned mall involved in it. And it had been like taken over by like hundreds of violent gnomes, and they fought them for some reason, and then very quickly got their butts kicked and ran away. It's definitely up there in terms of like wild play tests.
That's what you want.
But I think Jam actually developed the structure of these adventures that are in here, these like kind of scene setting adventure hooks and like setup things. She developed that, and
just with, like, sets the scene and then some prompts for everyone to answer.
And I stole that for Gun and Slinger. Like that's how long this has been around. She cracked the code.
That is awesome. Yeah, I love how the scaffolding for how you make an adventure. That is the same. That is the vibe that is obviously a thing that's very important for us, as well as like creating scaffolding and the fact that you can all make stuff up collaboratively. That's the truth right there.
Collaborative creation is like a huge thing in all of the stuff we make. Because it's just fun for everybody to get their hands in the pie, Throw some ingredients in there. Who cares?
Yeah, it just hypes everyone up versus like coming to a table and expecting to be like fed everything.
It's also more like it's more approachable, I think, for a lot of people, especially with like how big like actual plays, like high production APs are at this point. People who are new to games can kind of have an expectation of like, oh, you're going to be directing me through this AAA, well-developed like story, and you're gonna do these voices, and like, no, you're gonna sit down, you're gonna tell me what the name of your ass is, and you're gonna tell me how big your farts are, and we're gonna go meet a mystical old witch on the top of a mountain. That's what we're gonna do. By the way, all of that is in Butt&Head.
Yeah. And you decide how big that mountain is, and
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I really like.
I think that there's a lot, like the scaffolding that y'all have put in Candleberry Jam is like there's a lot of really awesome detail here and a lot to play with. But it's not too much. A lot of adventures that I've read have gone the other way, where it's like, here's this person's blood type, and that is not relevant at all. And you'll have everything that I need is on this singular page with the notable faces. I could run an adventure with this and a picture of the two.
Robbie's goal was like, if I were to run this adventure, I want to take no extra notes. I only want to use the zine.
I love that.
It's
Yeah.
a huge thing in how we design stuff.
I floated that, and you guys were both. And I mean, it is true. You guys are both like, that's stupid. They said in so many words, that's a little untenable. And I do agree. I think you should probably take some notes, but I think
I can run this without taking notes. I wouldn't be able to do a follow-up session. We're doing this in one night, but I could do it.
Yeah, sure.
The thing that I said was taking notes is an important way to internalize information.
Right. That's the same thing. That's the same thing.
I said something so much more inflammatory and cruel than it is like
that. So good.
I was wondering, so y'all were talking about, you want players to be a very active part of sessions. One of my very, very early role-playing game experiences was playing D&D with a group I'd been playing for a while with, and then there was a new person, and we were like in a battle, and it got to her turn in the initiative, and the DM was like, "What do you want to do?" And she's like, "I have no idea. Pass me." And so obviously D&D is a special flavor, but I was curious what other thoughts or methods y'all have used to bring in newer people with less improv backgrounds and make it feel approachable.
I mean, we've tried D&D with newer people, and I just don't feel like it's ever clicked, so we kind of stopped playing D&D with people new to TTRPGs.
It's wild to me. It is never going to stop being wild to me that people see that game and think that it's a great introduction to this hobby and this world. Stuff that we kind of do. I mean, I don't want to forget to tell. I have a story similar to yours, where I was the one on I drew the short straw. Someone invited me into their Burning Wheel campaign.
Okay.
I was very interested in Burning Wheel because I've never played something so crunchy and ridiculous before. We had a special call where we made my character and had a cool setup where I was going to do some fun stuff and be a cool part of the campaign. My first session, they got to me 45 minutes in. I introduced my character and then the session had to end.
Okay.
That experience has flavored a lot of how I design games. That should never happen to anybody. And nobody should ever get to their turn in combat and not know what the fuck they're going to do. I think one of the big things that I do is I encourage everybody to participate in some way. And the way that we bring that into Butt&Head is everybody can have an effect on the world. Everybody can say something, and it is true. Provided everybody's in, right? Yes, and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that one pretty valuable thing too is whenever you make something up, you're a lot more likely to remember it.
Yeah.
Exactly. I think that something I kind of realized really early on is if you have your players commit something and have that effect on the world, they're more invested in it too. Mm-hmm. I think there's, oh my God, I can't remember what game it's from, and this is a shame for me to not remember this, but draw maps, leave blank spaces.
I believe that's from, that is a general powered by the apocalypse
okay.
trope. It may be the one game in Powered by the Apocalypse that no one should ever pick up as their first game.
Yes. I was worried that's what it was. But the sentiment there, I think, is really good because you don't want to fill out every single possible detail. You want to leave room for people to explore, and leaving that openness, it leans into everything else that we've kind of been saying. You know, it gets people more interested. They get curious about what's over here, what's over there, what happens when I turn this knob. We design a lot of our games to also have like low barrier to entry on the complication of the rules. We have not designed a lot of crunchy stuff. What is the crunchiest game that we've designed? It's probably either Justicar or You're in Space, and neither of those are particularly crunchy.
I think Justicar. I mean, as someone who's played most of some versions of y'all's games, because I haven't played every variant of Gun and Slinger. I do think Justicar probably.
It has the most
there's so
processed.
much procedurality. And
it's very bureaucratic.
Yeah.
It's very, it's court. What do you want from me?
Yeah. Cool. We've got 10 minutes left. If we have more questions, that's great. If chat has more questions, that's great. I'm going to institute some weird forms of structure. Let's talk about what questions we should end with every time we do this show. I think it would be fun to hear, like, what is one small thing from the other person's creation that like stood out to you? And by which I mean, like, don't be like, oh, the characters. Be like, tell me a character, right? Or a name, or a line, or a piece of layout, like whatever it was. Like, I would love to hear a specific thing. And I didn't prep y'all for this, so take your time. I'm going to vamp a little bit more on that. I also think it would be interesting to hear, like, what's a thing that if you had made this, what's the thing you would have probably done with it based on your design style? This is not necessarily, this could be critique, but it doesn't have to be critique, right? It's just saying, like, hey, everyone designs games differently and thinks about things differently. What's something you think would have been distinctively different, or that you would have added if you had designed this project or had a hand in it in some way, shape, or form? I think those are two fun questions to do with, and two things I should have told you well in advance, so you had plenty of time to think.
It's not like we have had plenty of time to really ponder this question over various reschedulings. This happened. We decided to do this today, and it happened today. So I understand why we didn't hear this question. Tony, I'm being really mean to you today, and I'm sorry.
You're fine. You're totally okay. I don't feel like you're being mean-spirited. So yeah. This
is rapport. That's what this is.
Yeah.
I kind of instantly know two things to point out. I love the details in here about the toys that Kara makes. That is so fun to me. I love that it is like a tradition, and I love the way that the toys get returned. I love tradition and stuff like that. I think it's really fun to play with in storytelling, and that tells us a lot about the culture of the island and the people in it and how they feel. I can really easily like think about how the people on this island feel about childhood and play, and how that is like clearly an important part of this. There's also the discussion to have about, how does that relate to the golem? How do you get from someone years and years and years ago making a golem to that person's descendant making toys? This is the shit I think about. I love that. And the piece of art that Sela drew, the piece of art that is included in here of Sela's encounter with Yasha in the woods, I think is so fantastic. And the fact that at this point we have already read that the golem tilts their head when they're curious. And this picture shows the golem's head tilted. That means that during this encounter with Sela, hello, Ripley. That means that during this encounter, Yasha was very clearly like curious and like non-aggressive, and like I eat it up. I eat it up.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome.
The inspiration for the toy shop was actually at some point in the writing process. I was sick. I think at many points actually. But we watched The Gray Mouse Detective.
Yes! Oh my god! Are you kidding me? Yes!
It was my
That's
first time seeing
excellent.
it.
It was your oh yeah.
Classic.
Loads of inspiration there.
Something that really sticks out for me, the powers in this game are so fun. They're so awesome.
Yes.
I had a lot of fun making them up.
I can tell I'm always like in the vein of like, oh, why does everybody do things this way? Why can't I have like an improv background, so I love like improv. Anything that feels improv-y is like so rad to me. And I particularly really liked the hoof shake.
Where the secret hoof shake? Yeah.
You gotta do like 5 steps. And I can really easily imagine like the GM just being like, all right, I'm gonna record this.
Right?
You guys don't fuck this up next time you do it. And then, like that's just,
Exactly.
that's awesome. I can tell you had a blast with. I think you can always tell in work and in art in general whenever somebody had fun doing something, and that definitely like shines through there for sure. And it always makes the best stuff. So,
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Other favorite bits.
Yeah. I think this is the part that's not the Butt&Head specific. But when I was reading about the goldfish, I was like, this is the coolest thing in the world. And then I got to like the poker element, it blew my mind.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. That is from Gun and Slinger. To this day, that is, I think, the most genius bit of game design I've ever done. I think I've peaked. I'm never gonna do something cooler than that, but I'm still trying.
It's really cool. And then another thing that really stood out to me was the like building the world together. That was just like eternally fun to get to like reason through it together. And it's like, I don't know, it was really nice to like get to be silly and serious and like try to find middle grounds and compromises. And
did y'all just do the 4 prompts for like the general world building, or did you pick one of the starter quests and like run with that too?
We picked the start of the quest.
Yeah.
We did the lone horse.
We did all of it.
Yeah, that's a really good one. I really like it.
Ooh.
It's very fun.
it was also cool that this game, like, it really allows you to like, it supports you in being as silly as you want and still having like a game that you are playing.
Yeah.
Yes.
We were playing it and we were getting kind of tired. We were like, oh, do we keep going? Do we not? And so like Tyler as the head was just like, yeah, I shoot him. Like I shoot him. Like, you're murder hobo. And Rob was like, okay, let's go. This is what happened.
Oh no, you
Love that.
I didn't shoot him. I threw a gun at him.
Oh,
But it did.
That's the
Even
same thing.
better.
That's so good.
That's
Oh my
great.
god.
Exactly what happened.
Awesome.
And then in real life, I fell down the stairs.
That did happen.
No.
That's not a.
I shouldn't laugh at you falling down the stairs, but I
It
did. I'm
was
sorry
really
about
funny. It
that.
was really
Got
funny.
to.
knowing that that Butt&Head part of the Genesis was kind of making fun of Gun and Slinger makes the gun fuck it. Just
It's pretty good.
that really ties it together.
Awesome. So I'll bring us back. If your creative team had maybe approached this, what's the thing you just think would be different? Like, obviously there's the whole, like, we didn't think of this thing, right? Or something that's so far out of your house, or something that's a signature for what y'all do that you think would have potentially made it in, which I know is a super abstract question, but I think it's one of the fun things about sitting down with two, like, really great teams and being like, what's a signature move that might have made it in, or a thing that would have just been lensed differently because you wouldn't have thought of it?
That's a tough
That's an incredibly
It's a
tough
very
question.
hard
That
question.
it would have been so great
going
to-
forward. Everybody else will know it days in advance.
I think that's unfair, but I think I have a couple of thoughts on this. Something that we probably wouldn't have thought to do is the timeline, because I haven't read a lot of adventures like this. I wouldn't have thought to do it. That's something that probably would have been different, at least from my perspective.
Mm-hmm.
I could also see us pretty easily like getting partway through writing this and then saying fuck it and writing just bespoke mechanics and character creation systems specifically for the adventure. Because that's a lot of what we do is a lot of the things that we've designed started off as like a silly idea or an idea for a small thing that turned into why don't we just make this a fucking why don't we just make it a game? Why don't we just design a whole
And then it
game?
would explode into a whole thing. And
I don't know anything about scope creep. I don't know her. Don't talk to me.
Yeah, we feel that here.
Yeah.
You were in space and everything's fucked was redone like 4 times.
It was originally going to be something we printed at home.
It was supposed to be 20
Basically,
pages.
You know, same.
It's 2 books.
I screen printed the covers. It was going to be a limited run, but I don't know how to say no to myself sometimes. It's a problem.
I will say as just the credit for the timeline, that was a concept we got from Monster of the Week.
Okay. Yes. Okay. That is the other place I have seen it.
Yeah.
It's very like that phase of PBTA because Urban Shadows did a lot of that also too.
Okay.
But it's very good.
I have some thoughts about it, but what do you guys think about ways?
If I had designed it, it would probably be a lot more baroque and unnecessarily serious. So
Jim has a very unique silliness in the stuff he designs, and I love it.
The humor would be more dry, probably.
No fart jokes?
Not wet ones, at least.
They don't have
I guess no, yeah, like it would have been like
1,000 dead mules.
What if you played and you're sewn together?
I think we have an issue sometimes, and we're trying to get better at it. I've actually noticed a similar thing in my art as well, which I literally noticed like today, of making things a little more complicated than they should be. Whenever we're iterating, whenever we're making a mistake in some direction, it's always doing that. So like seeing like, I really, really like the divine intervention for the Joker is really, really dope. If we did that, we probably would have been like, all right, you got a Joker? All right, here's 2 dice and a toothpick and like
some new objects.
Yeah.
Tables that you need like a
there would have been a table involved. It would have been like it would have been wild. But I really just love that. Oh, God appears. What happens? And that's like beautifully simple. And that is like that's great. Yeah.
It's pretty sick.
Awesome. Any final thoughts?
This shit rules. And anybody who is here and watching this who does not have this should go and get it. It's sick. I've been thinking about it since we read it.
Yeah, I mean, you can put this little world pretty much in any like ongoing, campaign, or you can run it like a little one shot and just be a little character exploring everything and maybe try to change things. Don't let the bad things happen.
Kick the capitalist. Just kick him.
Likewise,
Like a horse.
There aren't enough games for 3 people. You should play this.
Yeah.
We played it while we were literally like as brain dead as possible, and it was still pretty functional.
I love to hear that. Thank you.
It's very fun. Yeah, it's very fun and quick and easy, and Butt&Head.
I am very down if we want to find the right mix, hosting, not playing, but hosting a Candleberry Jam Butt&Head crossover adventure on stream sometime. So
Do it.
let's
Make it happen.
yeah, let's make that happen.
You can
If
make
you
it
want,
happen.
if you want
But
Butt&Head,
what would the tone of that even be? I'm just
Wow.
realizing
Fire
like
out.
this would be wild.
Kick the capitalist is the tone of that.
Yeah.
If you want to get both of these things, you can go to plus1exp.com. Both of them are available for sale there. If you just want Butt&Head and you want to check out some other really cool games, you can go to, is it up on y'all's site yet?
Not yet.
Soon you can go to Dinoberry Press and find that. If you want just Candleberry Jam for some reason, you can also just come to Philadelphia, go to a farmer's market, go to the new Runehammer store that's opening on Franklin. Like, we'll figure it out. But follow both of these great creative teams. I will have their information down below. They are absolutely amazing people. Thoroughly excited to both have worked on these projects with them loosely, just getting them out into the world. But we really want to thank everybody who's part of Zine Club for helping make both of these things happen. If you don't know about Zine Club, every month we put out 2 new games from different creators who we love. Lots of times there are emerging or diverse voices that we just think need to be heard more. Both of these teams are absolutely great. If you're not following their work already, like I said, go check them out. You can find more about Zine Club at RPGZine.Club. We've had so many interesting issues over the first 7 months of Zine Club, including how to make all the technology work. According to all experts in technology, next month should be relatively hitchless compared to all past months. So we're super excited about that. But if you were a Zine Club member who for some reason didn't download the digitals of this, didn't get a physical copy of it, or if you're just somebody who's not a member of the club yet, you can head on over to RPGZine.Club, RPGZine.Club to find out more. If we don't log off soon, though, my wife is going to destroy me because she's waiting for me to go pick her up.
Oh my God, Tony.
Look, we waited 4 days because she wanted to go out on our anniversary, and it was the right decision.
No, you're not. No.